What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video tutorial of a free code camp section, and in this one we're gonna be doing the challenge of passing state as props to child components. Cool. So you saw a lot of examples that passed props to the child JSX element and child React component in previous challenges. You may be wondering where those props come from. A common pattern is to have a stateful component containing the state important to your app that then renders child components you want these components to have access to and some pieces of that state which are passed in as props. For example, maybe you have an app component that renders a navbar among other components in your app. You have state that contains a lot of user information, but the navbar only needs access to the user's username so it can display it. You pass that piece of state to the navbar component as a prop. Alright, this is an important one that you need to pass that piece of state to the navbar as a prop. Cool. So this pattern illustrates the most important paradigms in React. The first is unidirectional data flow. State flows in one direction down the tree of your application to child components. Of your application components from the stateful parent components to the child components. The child components also receive the state data they need. The second important aspect is that complex stateful apps can be broken down into just a few or maybe a single stateful component. The rest of your components simply receive state from the parent as props and render a UI from that state. It begins to create a separation where state management is handled in one part of the code and UI rendering in another. This is also the principle of separating state logic from UI logic. It is one of the React's key principles. You have to remember that. It's the core fundamentals. Right? So when it's used correctly, it makes the design of complex stateful applications much easier to manage. Alright, so in order to have a hands-on practice about everything is ready, it gives us an exercise that the MyApp component is stateful and renders a navbar component as a child. So that's a parent and that's the child here which is being rendered. Alright. So it says that pass the name property in its state down to the child components. Alright, so I will pass it as a state. So I will do this state and then I will pass the name property to the child component as a state, and then I will render that using props. Okay, so it says here that then show the name in the h1 tag, which is this one here, that's part of the navbar render method. So all we need to do is pass the name as prop here. So I would say props and name, and it should appear over here. And then also I need to write it over here too. So give it the name and pass it the value through state. Alright, there we go. See then, so if I type in my name, it will render here, but in this case it's camper boat, so here we go. Alright, so that being done, let's run the test and see if it passes. Yes, it does. Alright guys, I really hope you understand the concept of how to pass state as props to the child components. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and I'll make sure I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time, have fun coding and I'll see you in the next video.